Why is it that we always want to go back? We always reference the before, the good old times, how it felt like in the past. We don't have this anymore, we don't have that. It's all different now in the future. Why do we always long for the good old days? Let's unpack that. First off, even those of us that are making progress in life and we're getting better, we feel good about ourselves right now, but we still, just the same way, are interested and drawn to these nostalgic thoughts from the past. I mean, think about it. Why does that happen? So, I've been thinking about it for a while, and it's finally come to me. It's almost like the generation that we are born in and the time that we are kids and teenagers, that's what solidifies. That's what really gets ironed into your brain. That's the things you grew up doing. And when you've become an adult, and of course you're faced with new challenges and you're still having new experiences, and you might be further along than you were in the past, and you feel proud of yourself. Yet something feels different, something is missing. Our souls are tied into that specific time frame. If you grew up in the same generation as me, which is in the late 90s, early 2000s, you're probably stuck in that time frame. Meaning everything you know that's from the 2000s, 2010, even up until 2015. And at that point, you were a teenager. That's what gets ingrained into you. You're always going to be looking back and remembering how you used to hang out with your friends outside. And these days, the kids around, they're so patrolled by their parents that you don't even see any kids outside. And if they are outside, they're with parents. You used to cultivate your own relationships, your own friend groups. When does that happen now? Kids' parents are getting rides to school every day, then they're missing out building those relationships while going to school with your friends. Looking back at that, that was the most fun thing ever. Since school started in the past couple days, I went to school with my sister and it just kind of brought me back where I'm asking her, why aren't you going to school with your friends? And she looks at me like, hey, that would be a good idea. I haven't even thought of it. And I thought that's where all the friendships are made. The friends I used to go to school with in grade 6, I'm still friends with them today. I talk to them every single day. In fact, when there are some older kids outside, they're usually immigrants because in those countries, the parents are too fed up with work to even worry about getting their kids to school or to police them on everything. Instead, the kids just have to find their own entertainment. And I'm in that generation that grew up where we went outside, we biked everywhere, but at the same time, we managed to have so much fun playing video games. I mean, I grew up playing games like MapleStory, Minecraft, the old Minecraft, not the new shit they have. And what's funny is even games like Minecraft, where they're so different now than they used to be 10 years ago, and technically, it improved. That's what we wanted. We wanted the game to improve and have more updates, but now you don't even want to play it. You want to play the old versions. Why is that? Do you just think maybe you're getting old? Am I just getting old? Is this what we thought our parents have become? Where they can't keep up with the latest music, they don't like anything that's new? Is that what it means to get old? I don't think so. If you're still keeping up with all the latest things, if you're online, if you're using AI, you're not old. If you're still discovering new music to this day, you're moving with the world. But your heart and your soul is stuck in that generation. It's stuck in that time frame where you grew up, and that's never gonna change. And looking back to those times, that's what makes you feel old. So the world keeps moving forward, but your heart and soul stay in the same place. And maybe you are moving with the world, you're still liking new things, you're exploring new things, that's awesome. You don't have to feel bad about that. And also, while you're remembering all of the old times, it's most likely that the emotions were the strongest. That's why the memories are so powerful when you did things for the first time ever. Think back. When was the first time you've had a party? When was the first time you've discovered a new video game that you really, really liked and spent years playing? Back then, I remember going around with my friend and looking for shopping carts that have $1 in them. That's how we used to make money. We were about 12 years old. That's like what, grade 7? We would find the shopping carts, go across the parking lot, connect them into the other one, and it would spit the dollar out. That's how we would find money. And after about half a year to a year of doing that, do you know what we would spend it on? We would go through the cold, through the winter. I used to live in Winnipeg back then. That was a very, very cold place. And so in the winter, we would go through a blizzard just to get to Subway. And we would spend half an hour picking our sandwich. And we would still get the same one. It was the cold cut sandwich. And we would pay for it with the money we found in carts. And then we would proceed to sit there for the next 3 hours. That was our concept of going out. That was the tastiest Subway sandwich I would ever have. Think about it. You spend half a year gathering the money because you don't have a job, and you can't get a job because you're too young. And then when you finally have enough, you're so excited to go that it doesn't matter what day it is, the weather doesn't matter. You stop everything and you just go there. That was some of the best times. Where afterwards we would finish and we would go home, we'd hop on Skype and start playing Minecraft. That was the shit. That was so fun. I used to work in Subway for 3 whole years. I made all the fanciest sandwiches. I used to eat Subway sandwiches every single day, but none of them would taste as good as the ones from back then. They couldn't even come close. Because back when it was limited, you did not have all that abundance. You were restricted to a sandwich every 6 months to a year. That's all we could get. So it was so infused with emotion and memory. That's why you remember it like the good times. Think of the first paycheck you've ever made. I remember I was 15 and a half and I just got my first job. I used to work at a pizza place as a doughboy. And sure enough, I made my first paycheck. It was $97. That was the best feeling ever. When you go from being a broke kid to having a job and suddenly you're starting to get adult money, where a $5 candy was so expensive because you had no way to make money, and suddenly you just made almost $100. How good does that feel? I remember coming home with the cash in my hand and saying to my brother and my friend and my girlfriend at the time that we're going out to a restaurant to celebrate. Back then, going to a restaurant was a extremely rare occurrence. We went to a Vietnamese restaurant. I just picked one at random and I spent the entire paycheck. It didn't matter. I was gonna get even more than 2 weeks from now. But that felt amazing. And these days, you're making a lot more money as an adult. You might have bills to pay, but it does not feel nearly as good as your first ever pay. Because that signified the moment of you going from broke kid to adult money while you're still in that teenager zone. You're still in between. You're not quite an adult yet. So you don't quite have responsibilities yet. And when you start having that kind of money to spend, that's like your golden years. But it doesn't have to be the last. It doesn't have to stop there. And for a lot of people, unfortunately, it does. Those are the best years of their life. I look back at some of my friends from Winnipeg, from the high school I used to go to, and their life peaked in high school. And this is also very common with small cities where there's nothing to do. Because as they grow up, they still keep coming back to the good old times. They want to go to the same bar every single time. They want to hang out with the same group of friends every time because it brings those memories back. And they always want to go back, but that's what keeps them stuck. They never actually get out of that city. They never make a lot of progress. They never get better at anything. Their life just goes on. But if you're the lucky individual that's discovered self-improvement, you've been making progress in your life so you feel no regret moving forward, you get to experience both halves, both worlds. That means on one side, you're always able to go back to the good time. You can visit the old city. You can go back to the same bar you used to go. And at the same time, you get to have the spoils of the future. Because now you grew up, you improved, and now you have more abundance. And no matter how much you move forward, you're always gonna enjoy playing Smash Bros. With your brothers, with your friends that you grew up playing. Even if it's a game once in a blue moon, that's the best time. But that does not mean that needs to translate into your video game addiction. You've moved on from that. So guys, although, of course, you may always look back and think those were the good times, never stop improving, never stop discovering things, and just understand that your soul is always going to be tied to those times. That's the generation you were born in. You're always going to look back that way. And that's fine. By the way, guys, I'm building the community from scratch with like-minded individuals. You get to watch me build the entire thing. You get to see me in action. if you're someone who joins early, feel free to check out the link in the description. That's it for today, guys. See you next time.
Third
How-
round.
How was the other one activated?
Exactly.
Oh, wait, that's cancer. So you can open half a door only.